What sphinx of cement and aluminum bashed open their skulls and ate up their brains and imagination? Moloch, solitude, filth, ugliness, ash cans, and unobtainable dollars. Children screaming under the stairways, boys sobbing in armies, old men weeping in the parks. Moloch, Moloch, nightmare of Moloch, Moloch the loveless, mental Moloch, Moloch the heavy judger of men. Moloch the incomprehensible prison, Moloch the crossbone, soulless jailhouse in Congress of Sorrows. Moloch, whose buildings are judgment. Moloch, the vast stone of war. Moloch, the stunned governments. Moloch, whose mind is pure machinery. Moloch, whose blood is running with money. Moloch, whose fingers are 10 armies. Moloch, whose breast is a cannibal dynamo. Moloch, whose ear is a smoking tomb. Moloch, whose eyes are 1,000 blind windows. Moloch, whose skyscrapers stand in the long streets like endless Jehovahs. Moloch, whose factories dream and croak in the fog. Moloch, whose smokestacks and antennae crown the cities. Moloch, whose love is endless oil and stone. Moloch, whose soul is electricity and banks. Moloch, whose poverty is the specter of genius. Moloch, whose fate is a cloud of sexless hydrogen. Moloch, whose name is the mind. Moloch, in whom I sit lonely. Moloch, in whom I dream angels. Crazy in Moloch, cocksucker in Moloch, lack love and manless in Moloch. Moloch, who entered my soul early. Moloch, in whom I am a consciousness without a body. Moloch, who frightened me out of my natural ecstasy. Moloch, whom I abandon. Wake up in Moloch, light streaming out of the sky. Moloch, Moloch, robot apartments, invisible suburbs, skeleton treasuries, blind capitals, demonic industries, spectral nations, invincible madhouses, granite cocks, monstrous bombs. They broke their backs lifting Moloch to heaven. Pavements, trees, radios, tons, lifting the city to heaven which exists and is everywhere about us. Visions, omens, hallucinations, miracles, ecstasies, gone down the American River. Dreams, adorations, illuminations, religions, the whole boatload of sensitive bullshit. Breakthroughs over the river, flips and crucifixions, gone down the flood, highs, epiphanies, despairs, 10 years as animal screams and suicides, minds, new loves, mad generation, down on the rocks of time. Real, holy laughter in the river. I saw it all. The wild eyes, the holy yells. They bade farewell. They jumped off the roof to solitude, waving, carrying flowers, down to the river, into the street. Howl by Allen Ginsberg. I know what you're thinking, if you made it this far. What the hell does this random, unsettling poem from Ginsberg have to do with artificial intelligence? I would have said the same thing until I recently listened to the Lex Fridman podcast featuring MIT professor Max Tegmark, which I highly recommend. Max speaks at length about a blog written by Scott Alexander called Meditations on Moloch, also highly recommend. We will dive deeply into how this is related to AI's potential for great opportunity, but also great harm, and how we can steer it toward the former and narrowly avoid the latter. Let's talk a little bit about Max and the number one issue we need to solve in order to prevent humanity's casual annihilation by our own short-sightedness. AI to the max. Max Tegmark sits in the unique intersection of physics and machine learning. He reminds me of a modern-day Einstein, unbelievably more intelligent than any of us will ever be, but so approachable, quotable, kind, and funny that if you didn't know him and he told you what he does, you might not believe him. Also, why does his website look like it was created in the 90s? Max's Swedish-American accent and optimistic lens towards AI and the universe at large is delightfully infectious. Of all the voices I have heard so far along the continuum, his is the most cogent, nuanced, and accessible. He also provides us a realistic path forward. Don't get me wrong, he is realistic about the problems we're sprinting toward, and he is firmly on the side of slowing things down. In fact, he's one of the many who helped start the open letter, which, by the way, I will continually ask you to sign throughout this series. It takes 2 minutes and can actually have transformative change. Despite that, he's the only person I've heard describe a clear road towards success in AI, as opposed to someone like Eliezer Yudkowsky, whose views on the matter must be taken seriously, but also don't chart a course towards success.